MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They hacked 4 people to death with machetes in a park on Long Island. They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a teenage girl in Texas.
In a powerful moment during today's White House press briefing, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt addressed the Trump administration's firm stance on dismantling MS-13, a transnational gang known for its extreme violence and criminal activities across the United States. Leavitt didn't hold back as she detailed a series of horrifying crimes attributed to MS-13 members. Among the examples, she cited the rape and murder of a 20-year-old woman with autism in Maryland and the brutal machete killings of 4 individuals in a Long Island park. According to federal reports, other alleged crimes by MS-13 include the torture and murder of a teenage girl in Texas, the mutilation and killing of a 17-year-old in Virginia, whose hands were reportedly severed, and the decapitation of a man in Washington, D.C.
And let me tell you why we've made this commitment. MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They hacked 4 people to death with machetes in a park on Long Island. They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a teenage girl in Texas after she insulted them, allegedly. Killed and mutilated a 17-year-old girl in Virginia, stabbing him 16 times and cutting off his hands. They beheaded and cut out the heart of a man in Washington, D.C. They raped and murdered a 13-year-old girl in California. They sex trafficked a slew of young girls, including one who was just 12 years old. Raped an 11-year-old girl in Brooklyn while her brother was in the room.
The press secretary also mentioned incidents involving the trafficking and sexual abuse of young girls, including one case where a 13-year-old was beaten with a baseball bat and forced into sex trafficking in both Maryland and Virginia, just miles from the nation's capital. Another involved the alleged rape of an 11-year-old girl in Brooklyn, committed in front of her brother. Leavitt pointed to a disturbing pattern of abuse, trafficking, and violent intimidation, including forcing vulnerable individuals into unnecessary medical procedures to commit insurance fraud. These aren't just gang members, Leavitt emphasized. These are ruthless criminals responsible for unspeakable acts. And our administration is unapologetically committed to removing them from our communities.
Sex trafficked a 13-year-old in Maryland and Virginia, miles away from this White House, even beating her 26 times on her backside with a baseball bat, pressured homeless New Yorkers to undergo unnecessary surgeries such as spinal fusion in order to bolster their fraudulent lawsuits. These are vicious criminals. This is a vicious gang. And I wish that the media would spend just a second of the same time you have spent trying to litigate each and every individual of this gang who has been deported from our country as the innocent Americans whose lives have been lost at the hands of these brutal criminals. We maintain our position, and very strongly so.
She called on the media to give equal attention to the victims of MS-13's violence as it does to coverage of deportation policies, highlighting what she sees as a double standard in reporting. The Trump administration has made gang-related crime, particularly from MS-13, a central focus of its immigration and law enforcement strategy. And today's briefing served as a reminder of the administration's tough-on-crime messaging as it moves forward with increased enforcement efforts. We'll continue following this story and bringing updates as they develop. For more political and public safety coverage, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.